Welcome to Plain. Explain the place where complex ideas are untangled and turned into something simple, visual, and surprisingly easy to understand. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating topics in psychology: cognitive biases. These are the invisible filters that quietly shape your thoughts, your decisions, and even the way you see the world. And the wild part is, most people have no idea they're being influenced by them. In the next few minutes, we're going to explore why your brain takes mental shortcuts, how these shortcuts can mislead you, and the specific biases that show up in everyday life, from shopping to relationships, to the way you judge strangers. If you've ever wondered why you make certain choices, or why other people think so differently from you, this video will give you a completely new lens to understand human behavior. So let's slow down, take a deep breath, and explore the surprising ways our minds play tricks on us. Have you ever wondered why two people can look at the exact same situation and somehow come to completely different conclusions? Why you might feel certain that you're right, even when the evidence quietly suggests otherwise? Or why you sometimes make decisions that, in hindsight, make you think, what was I even doing? The truth is, your brain lies to you, not because it hates you, but because it wants to keep you alive, save energy, and help you make decisions quickly. The problem is that this quick thinking mode often leads to subtle mistakes in judgment. And these mistakes have a name: cognitive biases. Today, we're going to break down the most common cognitive biases in a way that's simple, fun, and surprisingly eye-opening. Whether you're new to psychology or just curious about how your mind works, by the end of this video, you'll see your own thoughts differently. And that awareness alone can make you noticeably smarter in everyday life. So let's begin. Cognitive biases are mental shortcuts. When your brain is faced with too much information, too little time, or too much uncertainty, it tries to simplify reality. It cuts corners. It fills in missing pieces. It jumps to conclusions. And most of the time, it does this without telling you. Imagine you're walking down two paths. One is short and straight. The other is long and winding. Your brain almost always picks the shorter path because it feels easier. But the short path often skips important details, and that's exactly how cognitive bias happens. But why does this happen in the first place? Why would evolution give us a brain that makes predictable mistakes? The first reason is energy. Your brain uses more energy than any other organ in your body. It's constantly looking for ways to conserve power. Thinking deeply is expensive, so your brain prefers to think fast. The second reason is survival. Thousands of years ago, you didn't need perfect accuracy to live. You just needed quick choices. If you heard a rustling behind you, running was safer than analyzing whether it was a tiger or just the wind. Fast beats precise. And the third reason is overload. You encounter millions of pieces of information every day. To prevent you from being overwhelmed, your brain filters aggressively. But those filters can distort reality. Now that we understand the why, let's go through some of the most important cognitive biases that beginners can learn, the ones that quietly shape your opinions, decisions, relationships, and even your happiness. Let's start with one of the most famous: the confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to search for, remember, and believe information that supports what you already think, while ignoring anything that contradicts it. Instead of asking, what's true, your brain asks, what agrees with me? Imagine you believe that a certain zodiac sign is unreliable. Maybe you met two people from that sign who changed plans last minute. Confirmation bias kicks in, and suddenly you start noticing every example that proves your belief. Meanwhile, counterexamples, the reliable ones, fade into the background. This bias affects everything: politics, relationships, shopping, and even science. When you Google something like, is coffee bad for you? You'll likely click the articles that match what you already believe. Not because you're stubborn, but because your brain is naturally attracted to information that feels familiar and comfortable. Let's move to the anchoring effect. Anchoring happens when the first number or piece of information you see becomes a mental anchor that influences your judgment. Imagine walking into a store and seeing a jacket with a big red tag was $200, now $80. That $200 becomes the anchor. Even if the jacket is only worth $40, your brain compares it to the first number, not the actual value. Anchoring affects salary negotiations, online shopping, and even the way you estimate time. If someone asks, "Do you think this task will take more than 10 hours?" that number plants itself in your mind. You'll adjust from it, but you'll rarely adjust enough. That's the power of the anchor. Next, the availability bias. The availability bias means your brain makes decisions based on the information you can remember most easily, not the information that's most accurate. For example, plane crashes are dramatic, shocking, and heavily covered by the media. Because they stick in your memory, your brain thinks they happen more frequently than they really do. Meanwhile, everyday car accidents, which are far more common, barely get any attention. This bias affects your sense of danger, your financial choices, and how you judge your own life. If the most memorable events are negative, you may think the world is getting worse, even if the overall trend is improving. Your brain isn't trying to trick you. It's simply picking the most colorful memories, not the most representative. Now let's explore social proof. Social proof is the idea that when lots of people do something, your brain assumes it must be correct. If you walk past two restaurants and one is crowded while the other is empty, you'll likely choose the busy one. Not because you inspected the menus, but because your brain thinks if everyone else is choosing this, it must be good. Social proof is why trends explode, why online reviews matter, and why we sometimes follow the crowd even when the crowd has no idea what it's doing. Humans are social creatures. When we're unsure, we look for safety in numbers. Another fascinating bias is the halo effect. The halo effect happens when one positive trait makes you assume someone has other positive traits. If someone is physically attractive, you might assume they're kind, confident, smart, or trustworthy, even without evidence. The opposite, called the horn effect, also happens. One negative trait makes you assume the worst about someone. This bias influences hiring decisions, first impressions, dating, and even school grades. The truth is, your brain loves simple stories. If it sees one good thing, it wants the rest to match. Let's explore outcome bias. Outcome bias is the tendency to judge a decision based on its outcome, not on the quality of the decision at the time. Imagine someone places a risky bet and wins. People call them smart. But if they do the exact same thing and lose, suddenly they're irresponsible. The decision didn't change. Only the outcome did. This bias makes us look at success and failure differently than we should. Sometimes good decisions lead to bad results. Sometimes bad decisions get lucky. But outcome bias blurs this distinction. These are just a few of the dozens of cognitive biases that shape your everyday life. But they all share one theme: your brain takes shortcuts. It acts fast, saves time, and fills in gaps. And most of the time, you don't even notice. But cognitive biases aren't just interesting quirks. They have real impacts. They influence who you trust, what you buy, how you interpret news, and even how you remember your past. Biases can make you overconfident, too cautious, too trusting, or too fearful. For example, confirmation bias can trap you in echo chambers online and in real life, where you only hear opinions that match your own, making your beliefs stronger and more extreme. Anchoring can make you spend more money than you should. Availability bias can make you fear the wrong things. Social proof can make you follow trends without thinking. Halo effect can make you misjudge people. Outcome bias can make you misevaluate your own choices. Understanding these biases doesn't make you immune to them. Even experts fall for them. But awareness gives you a powerful advantage. It gives you a small moment of pause, a few seconds, where you can ask yourself a better question. So here are 3 simple tools to reduce cognitive bias in daily life. The first tool is emotional awareness. When you make a decision, especially an important one, ask yourself, am I reacting emotionally or thinking clearly? Emotions are not bad, but they can amplify bias. A 10-second pause can reset your thinking. The second tool is active counterthinking. When you believe something strongly, ask the opposite. What evidence might show that I'm wrong? This one question can dramatically reduce confirmation bias and improve the quality of your thinking. The third tool is slowing down. Not a lot, just by 5%. When you need to make a decision, especially with long-term consequences, take a little more time. Sleep on it. Ask one more question. Gather one more piece of information. Sometimes that small delay is enough to shift from fast thinking to careful thinking. And here's the surprising part: your brain isn't broken. These shortcuts are natural, evolved, and often useful. Biases help you survive in a complicated world. But when you know they exist, you can work with them instead of being controlled by them. By understanding how your mind actually works, you become less reactive, more thoughtful, and surprisingly more confident. Because you know you're not blindly following mental shortcuts. You're choosing how to think, not letting your brain autopilot everything. If you enjoyed this explanation and want more videos about psychology decision-making or hidden brain mechanisms, let me know. Cognitive biases don't end here. There are dozens more that are even stranger, more subtle, and sometimes hilarious. And they reveal a lot about what it means to be human. Thanks for watching, and stay curious. If you found yourself recognizing these cognitive biases in your own thinking, that's a good sign. Awareness isn't just interesting, it's powerful. It gives you the tools to pause, question, and rethink before your brain takes a shortcut you didn't ask for. There are many more biases out there, and some of them are even stranger and more mind-bending than the ones we covered today. If you'd like a part 2, or if there's a specific bias you want explained in plain, simple language, just let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching Plain Explain. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and I'll see you in the next one.